A cost plus contract is a very transparent way of contracting with the client in that you show them the true costs that we incur, and then you charge them for our time and management and our overheads, and they know exactly what they're paying for, rather than something shrouded in mystery and they don't quite know whether they're getting a good deal or they're being taken for a ride and paying for something they're not getting.
I think that's key. So it's about transparency. So we don't hide money. In traditional contracting, contractors will front load money or move money around in different packages. I know I can.
Why do they do that?
So there's a couple of reasons. So one is to front load your cash flow, so that you can be cash flow positive. So I would put more money, let's say, in my demolition or my early structural packages, because it will get me more money up front, which I can then use for the rest of the jobs. The way we do it is it's completely costed. So we do a full measured cost plan, which means we measure literally every tile, every meter of plasterboard or ceiling or whatever. You get an accurate plan of work and money up front. And also the other thing is, on our projects, there's often lots of variation. Variation is where main contractors typically make up a lot of margin. So they'll really price tightly the main scope of works, or even underprice it, and then they'll make all of their margin back through variation. And that scares clients, because they're terrified of making a change. But the way we deal with it, because it's completely open and transparent, you only pay what we pay plus an agreed margin. So it's fair. We get to make a fair profit for being in business and taking on that risk with our capital, and also the client gets a transparent price for the works that are completed.
That's people. So whenever we're looking at tenders or returns from contractors or the build team, that's a question I always have from clients. What are OHPs, overheads and profits? And it's funny because I think sometimes clients can almost think, well, why do you have to have a profit? So we're not builders aren't charities, right? And I think sometimes that's not misunderstood, but they just don't think in that way. And it's really important, by defining it right at the very beginning of the project, that you can see what the overheads are and what the profit is, because it's a fair business.
If I was a client, it's understanding that actually cost plus, okay, I understand the benefit, but how do we make sure we keep it to that? So it's, for me, it's really important that what we do at the beginning is we set a budget, don't we? And we say, look, this is what we think the project is going to cost us. And then we track against that every month. Because I think that's really important for the client, where there are always going to be these unknown variations, but it's important that we can make sure we report against it.
We get every variation signed off and communicated to and priced and communicated to a client beforehand. And then the way we backstop it as a business is that we've got the budget, and then we add on to that any approved variations that happen through the project. And then we link that to an indexation, which is published by the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors, and that tells you how much building costs has gone up in the period we've been on site, or since we priced it to when we finished it. We apply that variation, and then if we, as long as we're inside that, that's what the client pays. If we go over that, then we only charge the client the cost. We don't charge them any overhead, and we certainly don't charge them any profit. So it actually costs us to deliver outside the framework that we've set the project. So there's no interest for us in prolongation or in making things cost more money.
Yeah, because that's what some people worry about. It's like, well, how do you avoid it spiraling? So if you're kind of saying what the budget is, but what if it takes longer? You're just gonna have to pay for that. There's not an unlimited pot, right?
And I think that's why it's really important. I think if you were to choose which contractor you're going with, we make sure that we have a quantity surveyor, so someone that is there that's independent of us.
What is a QS?
They are a highly experienced person that has the ability to quantify the work that we have done.
Yeah.
And I would say that, if I'm honest, I wouldn't necessarily go for a cost plus with anyone, because you have to ensure that the business you're working with has the financial robustness to prove the costs. Because from speaking to QSs, they do have other contractors that work on a cost plus basis, and they give a shoebox of receipts. And that's it for the month, and they'll go through them. The QSs we work with cannot believe the rigour in the process that sits behind it. So that hopefully would give clients, that comfort. So Deborah every month will run a financial report of everything that's been tracked against, the spend for that project, of which is double checked by myself, and reports are created, and that's tracked against the budget. That's the geeky bit that we get involved with and really like, because I think we're there to protect the client. So for me, I really see the benefit of cost plus, but it's making sure that it's done with rigour.
I And I think that's the advantage of our business as opposed to others, is that it's not just Liz, architect, me, architect builder. We've got an amazing operations and project management team led by Pip, and a really sophisticated financial team led by Deborah. So by being transparent and open about the costing, it's fair to both parties. And a successful relationship, any relationship, is where both parties are gaining from it.